So, Fritz, I guess you saw the David Marks's presentation just now on the Defence, Security and Resilience Bank. What do you think the covered bond market specifically can do to help achieve those objectives?
Well, I think there is talk about European secured notes and how they can contribute to financing defense SMEs especially. So that harkens, I guess, back to SME structured covered bonds that we've seen in the past, at least on the fringes of the market. But I think David's presentation made something very clear. In order to arrive at something that I guess Eisenhower called a military-industrial complex, whereby we have industry, especially important for the SME sector in Germany, finance and the political element to not just grow resilience and defense assets within the European Union, but also have a positive spillover effect into the economy at large. It needs more than just an ESN product or a defense-covered bond or something like that. It needs a much more broader effort.
ESNs are one thing. I guess public sector covered bonds are going to start to become more relevant. Massive amounts of money is going to be needed by governments. Government budgets are already quite pushed. We're going to see more public sector covered bonds in more countries?
Yes. So, indeed, you've seen, for example, NRW, the state of NRW is assuming half of the state's municipalities' debt into the state's debt. And that would allow the municipalities, again, to borrow more, which is very important for civil resilience projects and the like. Also, a lot of the housing policy happens on a municipal level. So there we have that, again, that relationship between affordability of housing, social cohesion, and that's the basis for a democratic execution of building a military-industrial complex. So you have these very profound interlinkages. On the public sector cover bonds, we do have then that potential new supply or source of supply for public sector covers. But also, on the other hand, we have great barriers to trade. So another source that feeds public sector cover bonds, of course, is trade finance guarantees. And then on balance, you would think those are going to be lower. So whether we see public sector housing cover bonds really up for a big renaissance, I'm not quite sure.
I agree about the social cohesion point is so important to otherwise bad actors manipulate the ability of a state to buy into what's necessary.
But also, I think when we look at affordable housing as one of the core means, I mean, we don't want to just do affordable housing for a family to find a home, to build yourself a home. It is important for democracies to function, to have that opportunity of people to get it onto the famous housing ladder, which becomes increasingly difficult. And like defense, affordable housing, the lesson we should take from the way that housing got more and more expensive, despite our best efforts in the financial community, is that just providing efficient financing. And in the defense space, we're talking about working capital, which is the big drag that's holding SME companies back to build up their production capacities. That is not enough. Just efficient financing isn't enough. It needs that broader societal political push for the right products, for less regulation, for easier regulation, and also for maybe just not less bureaucratic rules, but a more lenient enforcement of existing rules. That's probably the quickest we can achieve.
Another thought which occurred to me is when we talk about the NATO partners, you're coming from a AAA country with incredibly cheap cost of funds, but a lot of them have much more expensive cost of debt, and they're at the front. We talk about countries like Turkey, like the Balkan states. Do you see a bigger role for covered bonds for them to be able to provide cheaper finance?
Yes, I think there's definitely a case for that. So depending on the country rating, I think Hungary is a great case in point where they're very successfully established an A1 rated asset. Csaba today explained how they were able to price 50 basis points inside the government. From a country where the sovereign rating is a lot lower, I think 4 notches lower than the cover bond rating.
Yeah.
So in some jurisdictions, cover bonds are a great but still local currency way of attracting finance for housing. But there is definitely the potential to reach into the much deeper euro markets for other markets, the way Hungary has done in their renaissance of the euro cover bond.
Yeah. Well, it's an important agenda for us.
Well, yes, it is. There's a lot to do. Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Thanks so much for talking to me, Fritz.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, Richard.